One of my viewers reached out to me and asked if he could send me a copy of his game Rogueland, and I took a look at the PDF that he sent me, and it looked pretty cool, and so I said, sure, send along this printed copy. This is the entire game here in this magazine digest size book, and we're looking here at some of the acknowledgments, the his own credit page, and then some of the acknowledgments of where this game came from, what it's inspired by, Knave and Ars Magica, as well as NetHack. This is a game I played eons ago on the computer, Zork and Wizardry. There is actually quite a lot in this short book. The pages, let's see, it's 36 pages with the printing here, so 37 pages. You've got a character sheet here in the back, and it actually came with 4 character sheets, which are like this, and then it has some of the rules here on the outside. And it is a game, this is not a solo RPG, but I'm going to do a demo with it, and I'm going to create 3 characters for the game and show you a little bit of how that plays out. Volante and his friends Leppy and Whaleman are sitting around the castle here, and Volante is Madeline Harridan's, let's just call him her partner. And he is caught up in her problems and owes her big time, and he needs to help her defend her stronghold here, and he's recruiting his friends Whaleman and Leppy. They've come over for a drink and they're sort of hanging out in the basement, but they've got to mobilize here and help their friend out. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to figure out, they're going to basically raid her basement. They want to grab some magical scrolls and stuff and see if they can take these things and help themselves. So Volante, he is actually a magician. So he was Madeline's partner, and in better times they had a better situation. But things are kind of grim now. But he's got these 3 scroll slots, and so what he needs to do is try to see whether he can attune any of these. So he got to do a wisdom save here. It's a difficulty rating of 15, so he needs to roll a 15 or more with a +2 modifier to see whether whether he can attune these. And he got a 20. Actually, I don't know if there's any type of bonus for that. So one of them is going to work for sure. That was his first roll. He's got 3 slots here. That's a fail. And 11, 12, 13, no. So he's only got the 1 scroll, but that was a big hit. So he is going to see, let's see, what type of magic. We're going to do a 2d12 roll to see, and we're going to go black and blue here to see what type of magic is going to be in this scroll. And it's going to be to transform food or medicine. Transform food or medicine scroll. So that's possibly going to be useful. I don't know how. Maybe that will transform something that they find into food or medicine. That could be if they are in need. So we're going to note that down. Now, per the rules, when these scrolls are destroyed after an attunement attempt is made, so I need to eliminate these 2 scrolls here. So he blew up, he blew 2 of his scrolls up here. Now, I want to give him, as a magician, he's going to get 1 spell, and his spell's going to be in a wand. He's going to pick up a wand. I don't have that. He didn't start out with a wand here, but he's going to have some type of wand or staff, or maybe like a rune stone or something like that. So let's see. This is going to go. We're also going to go random here for what this actually is. Hopefully, it'll be useful. 19. What does he have? Control weather. You may alter the type of weather at will, but you do not otherwise control it. That's not going to be terribly useful. It's like, his friend says, that was a waste. That was a waste of a roll. But we got to control weather, so we're going to do it. And that will take up a slot unless we decide to get rid of it. The Levy, the performers, he's carrying 2 scrolls as well. And he is part of a caravan of traveling performers that he knew Volante from back in the day. They used to be on the traveling circuit together. So he's got a little something with these 2 scrolls. So let's see if he can attune either one of those. He's got a wisdom modifier only of +1, and we're looking for a 15 or greater. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, but we got a fail, and see, blowing up scrolls left and right. So he blew both of his scrolls, so he got a big nothing out of that. And our Whaleman the Brute has no scrolls, but he's got a couple of slots here, so he could make an effort but I think we'll leave him as is. So we didn't get a whole lot out of her basement, but we did get something potentially useful, this transformation of food or medicine. And so these guys are going to exit the basement, and we're going to look out into the environment and see who is assaulting this stronghold and how can we help. But before they leave, with all this bad die rolling and scrolls blowing up, there's bound to be some type of mishap. And for that, to see what happens with all of this before they leave, we're going to turn to this book, GM Gems, because I remember that they have, right at the beginning, a D100 table of alchemical mishaps and 96. So as these guys are in her basement trying to attune some of these scrolls and failing to do that, what happens but a potion evaporates and reforms as a strangely colored cloud. The cloud unleashes the effects of the potion over a 20-foot area in the form of rain. So it starts to rain inside the bottom of this fortress and maybe start to cause a flood or something like that. And I'm sure that Madeline Harridan is going to be pretty unhappy about this scenario. Now, she's already pretty unhappy with Volante to start with, but they're going to be leaving this kind of in a mess. And so as they come out, they are exiting to the courtyard of her stronghold, and they're starting to look around. There's going to be a 25% chance that there's a patrol out here. So see, first of all, is there a patrol? No, there's no patrol. So that's good. And let's see based on this D4, basic D4 table for outposts and forts. We're here in a stronghold, so we'll say that's an outpost or a fort, and it's uninhabited. So we're getting confirmation that it's uninhabited. So they're going to travel north here, out of the fort into the actual environment of this stronghold. And walking outside, we're going to check the environment first of all to see what we have here for weather, and we got a 9. So it's clear and calm. It's a pretty day out here, but we know that this is deceptive because we know that she is under attack, and I think we need to figure out who is attacking this castle. We don't see anybody yet, but let's go to this table and see who's been attacking her. Now, this table, unlike many of them, this table for monsters is not conveniently numbered. So we're going to be rolling a D3 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a D3 and a D8 to approximate this matrix and see what we get. So we've got 2 and a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gray oozes. So she's being attacked by gray oozes, but I don't see any gray oozes here. But let's make a note of that. I think we're going to have to investigate and seek them out. And they're probably not going to be friendly to us. I mean, I don't think a gray ooze is entering into this wilderness area. They see this great ooze sort of coming out of the river that's flowing. It's not so much a river as it is a water source that is flowing around the stronghold, which has been built, as you may recall, on the sea. And they approach this ooze, and we're going to see, we're going to have some combat here. And the first thing we do is we need to roll and see who goes first. And we've got a 1, so that is going to be the gray ooze. The gray ooze is going to be coming up out of this, I don't want to say a lock, just out of this water area and coming to attack us. And I've got us sort of set up here, but we're going to see who actually is it going to attack first. So we'll go 1, 2, 3 on this, and we got a 3. So it's going for our fighter. It's going for the whaleman. It comes around here in the back, and for some reason, it's attracted to whaleman here. Somebody's attracted to whaleman, and the gray ooze is going to attack. And the way this works here is it's going to move. And so the way this works is we roll our defense die to defend against the attack, and we need to roll the d20 plus our AC. And whaleman here, I don't know how smart the gray ooze was in choosing whaleman, but whaleman's AC, he gets a +2, so he's going to roll his d20 +2, and he will need to be greater than or equal to the attack value of this ooze, which is 13. So we're looking to defend against this attack. Whaleman's got to roll on at least an 11 here on the die, and this was like a colossal fail. So whaleman is completely taken by surprise, and yeah, so that's a blunder, and he's going to get 2 times the damage, and one of his armor items is going to break. So this was like pretty much a disaster for us at the outset. And let's take a look at the damage done by the gray ooze. He's got this body slam. It's 2d6, so it's basically the gray ooze is just kind of coming to, I mean, an ooze could slam, that's what it says, but it's more like, I feel like it's more like an envelopment, that the ooze is going to envelop whaleman and doing 2d6 of damage. And because we rolled a 1, it's going to be like 2 times this. So we've got 10 damage going on here because we rolled a 5. So we've got to take 10 damage, and whaleman himself has a HP of 10. So whaleman is like down right away and being absorbed by this ooze. Now, I think we're not necessarily dead. We've got some there's a sustained trauma roll here. So we have the possibility to continue living if we get some healing attention. So, but I don't think we can do this yet because we're still in the middle of a fight. So we've got whaleman down. If we can dispense with this ooze maybe and give him some attention before he gets more damage, then he can possibly recover in some manner. So, but whaleman is like down right now, and we're going to come back strong, or attempt to come back strong. And Leppy the performer is right nearby, and he's got this sickle that he can use that does d6 worth of damage. So he's going to rise up and he's going to attack. So he'll be rolling his d20 plus his melee, his strength value. We're looking to get a a 13 on that because that's what we got to do, and we got an 18. So Lebby rises up with his sickle, I guess, and he kind of does d6 worth of damage. He does 4 points of damage to this gray ooze, but the gray ooze has an HP of 12, so we're just like chopping away like a gelatinous portion of this gray ooze. So he's down to 9 HP, and we've got the Monsieur Volante is there, and what I'm remembering is he got that control weather scroll. So he's got a couple of choices. He's got this, he has a staff that also does d6, so he can kind of continue to try to chop away at this ooze, but he's also only got a strength value of 1, so we would need a pretty high roll to do that. However, he does have this control weather. Now, what if he made the weather like acid rain or something that would maybe dissipate the gray ooze? The question is, like, is the gray ooze susceptible to any particular type of weather, or what is the likelihood of that? And I'm going to do a little research. I'm going to do a little research on this, and I'm going to turn to a book I have that might help, which is The Monsters Know What They're Doing. I've done a video on this book, and we're going to look up gray oozes, which may give us some background information to know more about it. And we can see here that the oozes have no sense of tactics or self-preservation. They may be drawn to movement and warmth. Let's see, we've got the gray ooze. They have several things in common: negligible intelligence and charisma. The gray ooze is the weakest and the simplest ooze. It allows itself to blend in with wet rock. If we're walking toward the ooze, it holds still. If we move away, it follows us. So when it finally comes within reach of a living being, it extends a pseudopod and grabs on. Its bludgeoning attack is squeezing. When the ooze gets its pseudopod around a PC's leg, say, it begins to constrict and suck that leg into itself, doing physical and acid damage all the while. It does say here an unconscious victim, that's our whale man, may be presumed to be completely engulfed by the gray ooze, but isn't dead yet, only well on its way. Once the gray ooze has engulfed its victim, it moves away from other living beings. Oh, at its full movement speed, continuing to attack the target inside it. Oh, interesting. If there's a crack it can slither into, it will. The question really is, what can the magician do here? Is there a clear-cut use of his control weather scroll that he could do? And if he does do that, would I then also need to somehow have us be impacted by that? That's really the question. Or should he just try to do a sickle attack, and then we're going to go into a second round of fighting, but then we're going to lose Whaleman for sure, because if we can't attend to Whaleman's injuries now with some hope of recovery for the trauma that he's suffering, he is going to die for sure. So I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to do some magic here. We're going to have Monsieur Volante take a chance and attempt to control the weather by using his spell that he has. And to do that, he's going to cast a spell. And based on the rules here, it seems to me like you can freely cast a spell, but I'm not sure that feels right to me. So I'm going to go with the conjuring rule here, where he needs to basically, against a difficulty rating of 10, using his wisdom modifier, and in this case that's going to be a 2, he's going to need to roll a 10 or greater in order to successfully cast this spell. So he's going to do his sort of hocus pocusy things with his hands and conjure up some acid rain. Now it's a 40-foot range, and they're within range of this ooze, but so acid rain is going to fall down and start to ping the ooze, and maybe like salty acid just start to dissipate this ooze so that they can attempt to escape. However, they are also going to be damaged by this, and it says that if the outcome of the casting includes damage or healing, it's in the amount of LD6, L being level. Well, these are first level folks, so we're going to roll for damage on everybody, but before we do that, we're going to see whether we can we successfully save in some manner Whaleman, and while we're attempting to do it in this acid rain, we will be damaged. So the trauma that we want to see if we can save him, and for that we're going to go to our D4 again and give that a roll. We rolled a 2. So we're going to lose -3 from the highest ability, but we will sort of come back in some way. Now, I don't know how many HP we're going to come back with. I'll need to figure that out. I think I'm doing this right. I don't know. So the Whaleman is going to lose 3 from his highest ability, and I think that's going to place him. His highest ability was 3. His strength now he's weakened, so he's seriously weakened here, and that is unfortunate. But at least he's here. I'm not sure so much what he's going to be able to do for us, because he's going to have no modifier on his main roll because he's carrying a club and a flail, but he's down to, his strength value is now nothing, but he's come back weaker, and I'll figure out what his HP will be, but I also need to roll for damage, because while we're here, we're crouching, it's acid rain, we now need to go somewhere to seek shelter, and we're going to figure out where that is next. But before we do that, we are rescuing Whaleman. The ooze is like it's like salt on jelly. It's like the Wicked Witch of the West, you know what I mean? It's going to bye-bye, back down into the remnants of it, maybe into the water here, which possibly could be seeping into the fortress, because I think this water might run by there. And as you recall, we did leave a storm of rain in the basement of her fortress, so it's not a great situation. But let's see how much damage Leppy is going to take from this 5, and the magician himself is going to be taking 6. So there's been some pretty bad penalties here on this. We have lost Monsieur Volante is seriously damaged because he cast the spell. He basically sacrificed himself because he only had 6 HP and he just lost 6 HP. And I think that might say to me that he's gone, because I don't think the trauma roll here really applies. That I think that's in combat, and this was an effect of the spell that he cast. So you know what, Monsieur Volante, it's been nice knowing you, and you really sacrificed yourself for the cause. But he has rescued his friends, and he has sacrificed himself for, I guess, for his love. He has sacrificed himself for, what is her name? He sacrificed himself for for Madeline Harridan, the seafaring magician who had been his love, and he maybe saved her stronghold from this particular great ooze. He saved his friends. We have a weakened fighter, and we have a performer, Leppy the performer, who are going to be surviving this. And Leppy the performer himself, Leppy's gone. Leppy's gone. Leppy only had 4 HP. So the result of this acid rain was basically they're dead. Everybody's dead, and they're gone. Jim, they've perished in a storm of acid rain that they basically created their own demise here. So they caused a flood in the stronghold that they were trying to save, and then they basically came out and made acid rain go down, such that they all died with the great ooze in the water outside the stronghold. End of story. But wait, they're not all dead, because one remains, and it's Whaleman the Brute. He remains. We don't know how many HP he has yet. I need to look in the rules for that, but he's still around. He just has no strength value. He has no strength value, but he's here. He's here. So let me figure out what type of HP he would have, and he's going to be struggling along on his own. We're down to just Whaleman the Brute, and he is bleary-eyed and coming out of this fight seeing the carcasses of his friend the magician and his friend the performer, and he's gonna straggle along through this pathway to maybe something better. So Whaleman is struggling through this path. He's weakened. I still haven't figured out what his HP is. I couldn't clearly determine that from the rules. He began with 10, and he was resurrected. I don't know whether we're going to say, is he going to get 10 back? Or is he going to, maybe I'll do a D10 roll and see of his possible HP. Does he get them all back, or what does he get back? Let's go that way, because I don't know what the rules are. So he's got 7 HP back. This could be incorrect, but this is how I'm going to do it. So he's come back, but he's only come back to 7 HP, and he's struggling along, and we're going to go with the open exploration rules here to see what happens next. Now, the first thing, though, we need to figure out is the stronghold, is the surroundings of the stronghold, the countryside, the wilderness, or a town? And based on the source material, it could be kind of any of those things. So we're going to go with the D3 roll 1. So that's going to be a town. And we will do a D12 roll to see what the event is here that is going to be, as Leppy comes out of this, he's going to meet an NPC. So Leppy is struggling along the pathway. He's leaving her stronghold here, and we don't know where she is. She's off somewhere. Maybe she's the NPC. Let's just give this. Let's go with a D4 here and see who he meets when he is leaving. And I can't find my D4, which was just here. All right, we'll go with this D4. So he meets an NPC who's an explorer who discovered a secret. Let's see what the reaction. Oops, the reaction of this explorer is neutral. And what kind of secret was discovered? A map of a nearby dungeon or lair. So here's what happens. Whaleman is struggling away from this carnage, walking out of the immediate area. He encounters somebody who is somewhat indifferent to him and just passes him an object, and the object is a map, and Whaleman is examining this map, and the map is of a nearby dungeon. And he says, why not? What else am I going to do? I'm going to go to a dungeon, of course. Whaleman is going to, here's that D4. Whaleman is going to the dungeon, and he's going to the dungeon because he sees that there is a magic item there. Perhaps this is another place in the seaside that Madeline has hidden things. She was always a kind of sneaky character. And, hey, maybe Whaleman is thinking, Volante's gone. I'm the only one left. Madeline's still here. Maybe something could happen there. So he's going to go and check out her dungeon, as it were. And so Whaleman struggles into this dungeon area. And if I were sticking with what's in Rogueland, I would have somewhere directly to go, because it includes 2 specific areas, the Fungal Throne or the Stone Devotion. And I would go here. I would go to this tomb, a family tomb hiding secrets, and I would develop the story, perhaps going back to my original setting of the stronghold of the seafaring magician, Madeline Harridan, who has been a character outside of the immediate action, and develop something in this dungeon environmentally that related to her and move away from the exploration aspects, not really feeling a dungeon crawl per se here, although now the dungeon is the setting. So I would leave Rogueland and go to some of my other source material and random tables to start to generate details and build out a narrative story about maybe the relationship of Whaleman to the environment or Madeline. That's where I would go from here. I'm going to leave the actual demo gameplay at this point here because I think the demo has shown effectively how this game can play out. I was editing the video and I went back when I was in the portion of the video that's at the end that I actually filmed first, which was the review of the book. I was reminded that there is a great table or tables here for personality and background traits for your characters. And had I remembered that when I was doing the filming, I would have rolled on that when the Whaleman entered the dungeon or when he was on his way to the dungeon, because this is like a further character reveal. We started the session sort of in the middle of the action, and that's always a great place to start, but you can also pause and go back and find out something about your character. And I think I would have done that then to try to connect narratively the character with the dungeon. So we're going to just take a pause now and do that here to see how that would have gone. So I think I'm less concerned with the external components of, or the external traits of a character, but this line of, this row of traits is interesting to me, particularly the vice, the virtue, the misery, and the past. So we're going to give that a roll here, and in no particular order. These are all D20 rolls. So we'll just pull these out and see what we would have gotten and then how I could have worked that in. So following along here, our vices, he's aggressive. Well, that certainly makes sense conceptually because we know that as a type, he is a fighter. So makes sense to have an aggressive fighter. However, he is also honest. So he's an honest guy. Maybe that created some tension between him and his friend Volante, because we get the sense that Volante was not necessarily the most upstanding of people. And in the past, our fighter had been mutilated. And in fact, this certainly fits with the character card. If you remember or can scroll back or ahead to see what that character card looked like, he certainly indeed looked mutilated. Hence, we would say that he had suffered some trauma in the past. And what type of trauma? The trauma is, well, butcher. So this character of the Whaleman was the victim perhaps of an attack, maybe in his childhood, maybe in his adulthood, but and perhaps that was what made him aggressive. Perhaps that's what turned him into a fighter. But at core, he is an honest person. So that developing this a little bit from the prompts here would help me if I were to take him into the dungeon and explore the dungeon, perhaps find an item in the dungeon and connect him in some way. I would have a motivation, I would have a anchor point for that. And you could also roll, one could roll again on these to flesh it out further. So you could have more than one misery, more than one virtue, more than one vice, obviously. So I think had I remembered, as I said, I would have put that in as I was filming the video to create that character and give him a little more three-dimensionality. But that is offered here in the rule set, and it is, as is much of this material in the rule set, it is just enough to get you going and enrich your story without like tons of rules overhead and 400 pages of written material. What I really like about this is that it includes here at the back rules for some overland adventuring, some hex travel, and it gives you some short tables, but enough to create different encounter scenarios, mishaps, encountering an outpost or a fort, And it also gives some open exploration. So you could be wandering along and meeting an NPC or finding a place, or there's some activity suggested. It's limited, but it's also expansive. It makes a lot of foundational suggestions for different types of adventures. And then there are also rules for more detailed exploration if you go into a specific environment like a room or a dungeon crawl. There are some specific locations that are suggested to you, and I think they relate to this map here in the Roguelands. It was a little hard to tell, but it seems to be the case. So you could also use these either randomly or intentionally to decide that this is going to be the basis for your environment, and then work from there. And perhaps I'll do that, I don't know. There is a sample dungeon given here that you could, or two actually. There's the Fungal Throne and the Stone Devotion. And that's a lot. That's a lot for a short book. There's prepackaged explorers, as he calls them. I'm going to use some prepackaged explorers here. We're looking at basic a 3d6 total for score with a modifier. This will be familiar to you if you are familiar at all with this school of gaming. And the stats are strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And there is the possibility to pack your own bag and to obtain weapons and exploration gear. You have some tables for traits, and I'll probably choose some of these, and rules for character advancement that we won't detail, but you can level up your character in the context of this one rule set. Basic mechanic here is you're rolling a d20 plus your bonus. You're looking to roll at or above the difficulty rating that has been assigned to the task. And he's picking up this usage die mechanic whereby there are consumable items that are abstracted in the sense that you start out rolling or having d20 of them or using them. When you use them, you're rolling a d20, and then you go down to a 12, 10, 8 until it is emptied out. The magic here is very light and meant to be almost created on the fly. You've got rogue magicians. Basically, anybody can cast magic through a scroll, and you can be picking up a scroll and rolling to determine what it's actually going to do. So you might not know what the scroll is going to do when you have it, and you can make a decision about when you're going to interpret what that scroll is. I found these rules a little bit contradictory, and I tried to get some clarification from the designer on it. I wasn't sure that the clarification I got helped me, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. I'll talk about the decisions I make about how to use this when we come to it, because I will be having one character who is specifically a magician. As I said, others can cast magic spells as well or use magic scrolls. I'm going to go with a magician, a performer, and a brute. I think those are going to be my choices. I like this concept of a wanderer, but I'm just not sure I'm up for doing 4 characters. So we'll see. I may bring in the wanderer, but definitely the magician, the brute, and the performer. We've got the D100 list of spells, and it says use this table to determine spells and their effects when specific spells are needed. There is a store that you could go to purchase items as well as hire people if you want to do that. And basic combat rules, which we'll get into if we have combat. Suggestions of NPC types that you could meet, and there happen to be 6 suggestions, so you could create your own little D6 table if you wanted to do that, about if you were wandering around who you might meet. And we do actually have monster table here with a bunch of basic stats, basic monsters, as well as traps and hazards. Again, on the one hand, it is skeletal. On the other hand, it's very rich because it just is a nice framework to build into, as we'll see when I get into my gameplay. We have potentially randomly found magic items with some capacity to do some random rolling and create them. And we're back to the adventure. So there's really quite a lot in here, and the physical components of it. The paper is very appealing, and the art is lovely, and the overall package is it's just very appealing. And it made me, as I said, when the designer reached out to me, I said, well, just send me the PDF first. I don't want you to go to the trouble of mailing me a physical copy of it. But when I saw the PDF, I was really intrigued. And then when the physical product arrived, I was even happier, because it's a very pleasant, it's just a very pleasant physical object to have and to use. So we're going to go with the 3 characters in Rogueland, and I think for my characters, I'm turning to another game for inspiration here, and this is going to be my brute character. The Whale Man is my brute character. My magician is going to be this fellow with the wings here, and my performer is going to be this guy. And I've got some little chits for them. I don't know to the extent that how I'm going to be actually playing this forward. That my chits don't match up exactly, but here's my brute, my fighter character, and here is my magician. No, here's my magician with the magic hat, and here is my performer, looking a little worse for the wear. So we're going to set this up and figure out where we are, where we're going, what we're doing, and give a little demo of Rogueland. I've enjoyed spending time with Rogueland quite a bit. From the solo perspective, I think it's a great rule set because it is, as I've said a bunch of different ways in this video, both expansive in terms of what it attempts to cover, that we have overland exploration as well as dungeons, and there are rules for hex travel and encounters and magic, but it isn't, as you can see, there's not a lot of rules overhead, and a lot is left to the player to interpret, but there's a framework here. There's an impressive amount of frameworks for a lot of different kinds of things. The pre-packed explorers, which I used, are great, and one thing I didn't really get into is I chose some of the items that they had, but you could also go into the pack your own bags section and put your own materials in there. Another way to do this would be to go to the traits and roll up some traits for your character before you gave them anything. So you could take a character and develop their personality, their backstory, if you were interested in this, even their external appearance, and then give them what they would be carrying, their general gear or their identifying items, and work it back that way. And you could see where, with relatively, just a few pages here, you could start to develop pretty three-dimensional characters. I did mention earlier about the leveling up capacity, and that the fact that a game of this length has rules for that is another indication of the depth that there is in this short rule set. So I really recommend this for people who want to explore working solo with a rule set that's not solo, that has many different types of play possible, with just enough prompt to get you going and just enough support to go back to with some random tables, but without the hundreds and hundreds of pages and multiple books that one might feel need to be consulted if you're using bigger rule sets. I hope you've enjoyed this look inside Rogueland, and thanks as always for watching.